if you like, we can carry on with chemistry.
Okay.
And for today, we should talk about water and weak interactions just to see how they stack up. And basically, it's going to be a good chunk of recap of what we've already covered, what you've already covered in school, but from a different perspective to incorporate it not just into biology, but also into physiology. And
Mm-hmm.
it might make things a little bit more kind of on the difficult side, I admit. However, complexity doesn't mean difficulty, let's face it,
Yes.
because complexity adds detail. Uh, Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Sounds good. It's
Mm-hmm.
really good for kids, but when we're medical professionals, it's so much more than that. Yes, it's about inheritance. It's about detoxification. It's about producing energy, yes, but it's about so many other things. So as you understand that complexity, all of a sudden you realize that, oh my God, certain toxins can poison me because they shut down my mitochondrion, or my mitochondria is able to repair itself. Antioxidants help reduce the amount of reactive oxygen species. All of a sudden, everything makes sense. You keep having those aha moments and constructing your own ideas and relationships about how the world works. Well, we've talked about shape previously, and I think you've nailed that down quite well. Now we're going to talk about what happens when different kinds of compounds interact with one another. I've managed to convince my AI model to create proper images, more or less, but we know how this should look like. If I have a positive ion or a cation, pun intended, because we like cats, we established that in the beginning, then obviously water, because of its polarity, it's going to show its more electron-rich side towards that positively charged ion while its less electron-rich side will be exposed to anions, mainly in the case of sodium chloride towards chlorine. Salt plays a very important role in human civilization and the domestication of several farm animals, and including ourselves. We domesticated ourselves as a species, which sounds odd, doesn't it? I
Mm-hmm.
don't think you've talked about the human species from this perspective at all in high school. It's not really common because I don't know. If you think outside the box, yes, and you think about why you think the way you think, all of a sudden you're much more difficult to be governed, and you're much more difficult in accepting any sorts of pre-chewed ways of thinking, not to mention propaganda, because you're going to question everything. I mean, um, and that's a healthy thing to do. Whenever they tell me something's on the news, I'm like, maybe, maybe, and they think it's ironic. No, it's true. It's maybe. Why does salt play such an important role? What would you say? Why is salt so important
Because it, like in our body.
in our body and from a societal perspective? Mind you, my ancestors were transporting salt from Transylvania to the plains of Pannonia and basically everywhere in the Carpathian Basin, hence the family name. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Salt. Huh.
salt.
Well, from a societal perspective, it's basically because it has multiple different functions also for like giving us flavor to food and also some kind of maybe like body baths and like these things. And you can bath in salt and it helps somehow to your skin.
Yes, definitely. That's absolutely true. Skincare,
And
yeah.
it somehow also connects to electrolytes. It provides
Spot on,
electrolytes,
spot on. Yes, yes. Very good, very good. That's an excellent
and it
approach.
also provides minerals in our body.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. So these are all essential from a human perspective. Salt
Mhm.
draws water, as you said. Perfect. Perfect. It is a great summary. So, sodium is currency in a way because it maintains us as we are as human beings. But if you think about refrigeration, have we had refrigeration throughout our existence as a species?
Refrigeration,
Yes. How did we preserve food?
like in the past,
Oh, yes.
in salt, right?
In salt, exactly. Why did salt preserve food? Mainly meat, but not just meat. I mean, if you think about Asian dishes, Asian dishes oftentimes also had salt inside of them. Soy sauce has salt inside it. A lot of Asian dishes, kimchi uses a lot of salt as well. Or if you think about sauerkraut, unfortunately in English they say sauerkraut, despite the fact that it's a German term, that they use it for pickled cabbage, basically, or fermented cabbage. So fermentation wasn't a thing alone. It also involved salting. Yes, and it was necessary to add salt to get rid of bad bacteria and to only have good bacteria growing because if you think about it, in the Mediterranean, they salted food and then they dried it. If it was meat, that's how food cured. Cured meats became a thing like that. However, in our region, there's also smoking involved. Yes,
Mhm.
smoking and salting. So both processes were extremely important through our evolution. Now, what about cows? Do cows like salt? Do goats like salt?
But I know about goats. I'm not sure about cows.
Oh yeah, because of the saying, oh, naughty, naughty. But yes, they all love salt, and in nature, it's really difficult to get enough salt. So
Mhm.
they would seek it out, and actually, they befriended humans because humans had something they desired, salt. That's
Okay.
how we have domesticated these animals. And even to this day, salt plays an extremely important role in many communities. For example, many communities in Africa do not have salt. They have a way of making salt from burning plants and basically transforming their contents, their ash, into salt. So salt is very important, even in this day and age. Nowadays, it became really cheap because the technology was available to make it affordable to everybody. Same
Mhm.
thing applies to sugar and to many other things, and we need it. It's absolutely necessary. Obviously, in certain realms, they consider it the enemy. Look, it's not our enemy or our ally. What matters is of course quantity.
Mhm.
Sodium and chlorine, they interact in ionic form. They interact with water, and those interactions help the ions hydrate our bodies because we can chug all the water we want. Water on its own will not keep us hydrated. Water on its own will not keep us going. What
Mhm.
will keep us going is basically consuming proper amounts of electrolytes. I keep telling that to everybody. It's okay to have a blue drink. Yeah, I say it a blue drink because I never ask for the brand itself. It's Blue Powerade. Every one of my students gets it. That and some kind of caffeine source. But in this day and age, usually they go for the blue one, and they don't ask by flavor. They just say the blue one. It does contain electrolytes, but it does contain glucose as well. Now, in this heat, many aren't able to actually eat. They lose their appetite because it's really hot and
Mhm.
yes, really difficult for them. So yeah, those maintain and because it does contain electrolytes, some of those electrolytes are in the form of glucose, and glucose is a non-electrolyte, by the way, but it does contribute to the overall osmolarity of the whole thing. Mainly, we need electrolytes because those don't get broken down. But if you work all day, or if you work out, or you live in an environment that's at a higher altitude, the excess glucose will be consumed by your red blood cells. So if you have a higher red blood cell count, it's very unlikely to develop diabetes, and people who live in mountainous areas, it's far more rare for them to develop it because of the sheer fact of just um, walking, yeah, because that's a very important thing. They do have to walk every day and everywhere mostly. And of course, because of the higher red blood cell count, because it's necessary in those areas. Now, obviously, the polarity of these molecules of water and other molecular compounds is going to influence solubility because similar things dissolve in similar things. Membranes self-organize because one part of those lipids is going to be hydrophilic, the other part hydrophobic. Makes sense.
Mhm.
And hydrophobic substances cannot be washed away by water, as we know.
Mhm.
For example, having a white shirt. Having a white shirt has been a status symbol way until the middle of the 20th century, if not even today. Not actively saying it, but implying it, because getting shirts clean was a difficult task because it required a lot of work and it required a person to be able to afford someone to do that work for them.
Mhm.
Isn't it odd?
Yeah.
It's something we would never ever consider nowadays because obviously we have all these wonderful cleaning supplies and cleaning compounds that are doing half of the work for us, if not all of it. And
Mhm.
that's great. That's amazing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against it. But we don't even realize how good we have it nowadays. And obviously, dirt is going to be more hydrophobic, yeah, because obviously uh, cleaning something murky. I mean, when you wear something, as a human being, you're going to swear. And
Mhm.
that's okay. That's all part of life. However, getting rid of those organic stains is a difficult task because those stains are rather hydrophobic. Yes.
Mhm.
So we came up with soap, and the interaction between soap and dirt basically forms micelles. Now, that's just one part of the story. Cleaning fabric again is a whole feat of engineering on its own, and it's still under development. Let's face it.
Do you
Now,
know
all
why it is not possible to like take out mud from clothing? Because like, it's like
God,
it happened to me a lot of times that I went out with like my dog in a white t-shirt and it was raining and he jumped on me and I couldn't get the stain out. Like I have so many t-shirts that I like that they have mud on it because it's I don't know. It's like impossible to get it out. So like
oh
if there's
my,
something behind it.
it may depend on the kind of soil
Uh-huh.
because not all soil is created equal.
Uh-huh.
I think near your hometown, you probably have a rich soil. I mean, why do I think? I've never been, by the way, but I think it must have a rich soil because during the Kingdom of Hungary, it was the coronation town for the kings of Hungary. Now, because of that, obviously, they had to have good quality soil, so it had to be fertile. And if it's fertile, then it's full of a number of organic compounds I probably wouldn't even be able to name.
Mhm.
So yes, that might be the reason.
Mhm.
But it's full of organic compounds that not only stain and are insoluble, but they also might react with the fiber of your clothing. And if there's a chemical reaction, it is much more difficult to get rid of.
Hmm.
With that being said, there are special coatings for clothing fibers that makes them waterproof. Even if it's a synthetic fiber, it won't sweat, it won't have the I'm dressed in a plastic bag effect anymore.
Hmm.
There has been widespread innovation in this as well, but obviously, if you know that you have a predisposition to having a reaction to various kinds of fibers, or you can't really tolerate them, you prefer natural fibers, that's perfect too. I'm not gonna go all dermatologist on this. But oftentimes you may want to try a little bit of acetone if it's a white shirt and if it's a natural fiber, not a synthetic one, because acetone obviously may dissolve certain fibers while it may leave alone other fibers, or you could take it for dry cleaning.
Hmm.
Because dry cleaners are another thing, and dry cleaners have their own methods using organic solvents. That's why it's called dry cleaning,
Hmm.
and they're able to get rid of other kinds of stains. Because if you have a, let's say, silk clothing, you can't really wash it in a washing machine because basic or acidic compounds, or even the excessive presence of water may cause the polyamide to depolymerize and ruin the whole thing. You're not even supposed to press them with an iron. When once you've washed them with something, you're just gonna press them between two layers and have a proper paper soak up everything, and that's how you keep it looking nice. But that's a different art form on its own. But with this being said, I think you should opt for dry cleaners or look at the recommendations of the clothing brand.
Hmm.
There's usually a label on it, which I always cut off because I can't seem to
Me
tolerate
too.
it. You too? Oh my God, my entire family does that. The little guy steps up to me and shows it to me, cut it off. I'm like, okay. I don't know if there's anything wrong with us, but yeah, I've never met too many people who actually do that, but it's bothersome and it can be irritating.
Yeah.
Yes. But if you remember where you found them, or you take a photograph and upload it to Google, Google might find the exact brand and have recommendations of it, because mud isn't just mud alone. It can be a plethora of things, and
Mhm.
because of that, it can cause a more advanced stain.
Yeah.
How do I know? I I actually ate tripe stew on a Friday, and of course I was wearing a white shirt and a bow tie. Great idea, excellent combination, especially to eat it with chopsticks, because I didn't have a
Definitely.
fork. And of course it caused a stain. You know what I did?
What?
I took a bottle of acetone and I've put a wet wipe on the other side, and I kept wiping it with wet wipes, and basically
Mhm.
it soaked up the stain itself, and it soaked up the fat itself, and it evaporated rather quickly. Now, thank goodness I don't smoke, because I could have lit myself on fire with this kind of shenanigans, so one should always be careful about it. But yes, doggos are like that. They love you, and that's how they show love. And it's not misbehavior on their behalf. It's showing love. They probably your dog probably makes a sound as well. They
Yeah.
laugh too. They laugh. They have that sound that means laughter, and it sticks from one dog to the other. And it
Mhm.
is when I usually meet dogs, I talk to the owner normally, and to the dog as if I
Yeah.
was a complete nut.
Yeah.
Same thing with small children. I can't help it. I just love them, and yeah, the dogs usually become my friends. With people, uh, people are okay as well. Don't get me wrong, but with people, it's a bit more difficult. They
Yeah.
don't understand unconditional love. They think you have some kind of agenda. No, dude, I'm dumb as a bag of fleas when it comes to living beings. I'm sorry, I'm not like that, but yeah, yeah, it's all right. But you'll be able to get the stains out, I think, with dry cleaning or with some kind of solvent. But always be careful. Look at what kind of fibers it's made up of, because.
Yeah.
But if you show me the brand and the kind of stain, I can probably do a tad bit of research, so you don't necessarily have to take all of them to dry cleaners because it can be
Yeah.
kind of a robbery. Yeah,
I'll take
I'm
a
not
look.
saying it's, yeah, but it's worth a try. But yeah, it can be more on the expensive side, and it's not worth as much. Just
Yeah.
saying. I mean, if it's a silk dress, it's worth it. But if it's just a shirt, I'm not sure. So yeah, we need to address what's what, and then is it actually worth it? And yes, but usually organic solvents or combinations of organic solvents or other methods may work because I'm certain you've used whitening agents, yes, like
Yes.
Vanish.
Yeah.
We use that so much. We use those quite often as well. Uh, I also have a thing from home. It's called Nufer. Oh,
Hmm.
if I meet your dad, maybe I could send him a bottle. I'll ask my dad to send me a bottle, and I'm gonna send the bottle to you. It's good for wet clothes. It's really good for wet clothes. My mom, God rest her soul, she would always send me a bottle when I had issues with stains. I may still have a bit left over. It does help. It does help with white clothes. You have to spray it, leave it for a while to soak, and then put it in the washing machine, and it's fine. Once I had a wine stain on one of my shirts, and she just sprayed it on. It became blue. Red wine became blue immediately. Then it vanished completely, and then I had to wash it with cold water, and that was that.
Interesting.
Yes, it's unique to Romania. It's unique to Transylvania, to Koloshvar. I think it's been developed in the previous century. And yeah, it's really good, actually. It's really good, but it can be a bit on the basic side. So, yeah, I probably wouldn't use it with anything made of a polyamide or silk or anything of the sort because it can be harmful to those fibers. Oh my God, I can talk so much about stain removal, but it's applied chemistry at its finest because it's not just fats, it's not just sugars, it's a combination of these. And if a stain gets impregnated into the fiber, well, then we're in for a trip. You probably have seen khakis, yes, khaki shawls and khaki colored
Yes.
things. Those were made with tea leaves, and they used sodium thiosulfate and sodium sulfate to fix it to the fibers on purpose. The British wore it as a uniform. So that's the reason why they
Mhm.
exist. Yes, very British, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if this occurs by accident, then obviously it's no longer a stain, it's a new color. And then it's going to be a tad bit more on the difficult side, and we have to be sure we don't damage the fiber itself. Yeah. And of course, simple molecules can be polar and can be non-polar. Why is one polar and why isn't the other one polar? Well, it all has to do with how electrons are distributed because
Hmm.
oxygen captures all the electrons, and since so highly electronegative, it's able to pull electrons towards itself from less electronegative elements. So it's all about the pulling effect. And because the electron density concentrates on one side of the molecule, in the case of water, it will have a dipole moment and it will be a polar compound ultimately. Whereas carbon dioxide, despite the fact that it's much heavier than water, because water has a molar mass of 18, yeah, carbon dioxide 44. How do I know that? I'm a loser and I have a lot of free time and I practice so much that at this point I think I have muscle memory of many things. But it will come to you as well well because you're going to practice as well, and you're going to grow into it. It's just like getting new shoes when you're little, and in 3 months, oh my God, you grew into them. You grew out of them afterwards. Yeah. And that's normal. The growing child gets a new pair of shoes, or at least two, three every 3 months, because with
Yeah.
boys it's necessary. Because boys will be boys. Now, you probably have noticed that fats and salt, they don't combine. Why? Well, because it cannot dissolve in fat,
Hmm.
while salt dissolves rather well in water. And it's a rather endothermic process. We will talk about endothermic, exothermic later on. It's a later topic. However, it's rather interesting because despite the fact that it's thermodynamically not favored, kinetically it is because it creates higher levels of entropy. It becomes more disorganized, and that's what nature wants.
Hmm.
Um, Relative disorder. Glucose dissolves well in water because all the hydroxyl groups are able to interact with water, despite the fact that it's a superorganic compound, obviously, because of all the OH groups, and OH group can be considered half of water. Yeah. So sugar dissolves in water rather well, and so does glucose. Or many polysaccharides also. They might not dissolve in water, but they are able to capture moisture because of it. Or polyalcohols, long chain alcohols with lots of OH groups, they also do the same thing. So yes, this is a very important trait.
Hmm.
However, triglycerides, no, they form a different layer, or long chain esters. They also form a hydrophobic layer. Now, these long chain esters made of long chain alcohols and long chain carboxylic acids, they are often waxes. And you know that beeswax, even to this day, is used to waterproof things. If you ever had canvas shoes and you took them to a shop, and they have this machine that makes it waterproof. Do you know what it does?
It adds wax.
Exactly. Wax is dissolved in an easily evaporating organic solvent, and it's beeswax and other compounds that help it stick to the fibers. First things first, it has to be absolutely clean. So usually they do it with brand new shoes, dust-proof, grease-proof, perfectly brand new, and then it becomes waterproof. And that's amazing. And that's amazing because it remains breathable, but at the same time, it becomes waterproof. Yeah, and also dirt slides off of it. It doesn't really interact with it. So I think it's not just beeswax, but other compounds as well. I don't know what in particular. And many ions also are able to interact with water. So the bottom line is similar things are going to interact with similar things. Water
Hmm.
is able to interact with itself as well in the form of hydrogen bonding. Hydrogen bonding may occur with H3O pluses as well. All kinds of compounds are able to do that. And of course, because of these interactions and because of the dipole characteristic of water, it's able to interact with ions. Hence, salt can draw water. Have you ever chopped up onions and added salt to them?
I think so. Yeah.
My ancestors used to use it to predict the next year. If it's going to be a
What do
dry
you mean
year.
predict the next year?
Yeah. It was a New Year superstition that they would cut an onion into 12 pieces, salt it, and call each and every one of them a different month, and that's how they kind of wanted to predict what the next year is going to be like. If it would draw a lot of moisture, oh yeah, it's probably going to be more rich in precipitation. If not, then we're going to have a dry year, and we should prepare for that. Any scientific evidence for it? No. It's just like pouring hot, boiling lead into water and trying to predict what the next year is going to be like. It's basically folk superstition, but it's really fun, yeah. But from a culinary perspective, it's delicious, yeah, because it draws out the moisture and it draws out the chemical compounds that contribute to the extreme spiciness of onions. Yeah. And as you can see, water gets drawn out. If you like onions, yeah, you can just chop them up and take away the spiciness just by adding salt. But if you want to maintain the crispiness and the freshness without wilting them a little, then you could just add it to water a little bit, give it a cold shower, and it's still going to remain crispy. However, its flavor will be a little bit toned down. So yeah, that's an interesting thing. Now, salt draws water from the cells of onions. You can probably study this under a microscope. You put a huge dot of salt water under a microscope, and then you cut a very thin slice of, let's say, red onion, and you put it in that water, and you'll be able to monitor, you'll be able to see how the cells crenate. What does that mean? The plasma membrane is going to pull away from the cell wall and basically the salt water is going to draw out the moisture from inside the onion cells.
Hmm. Okay.
Yes, salt draws water.
Yeah.
It's high solubility, but this is osmosis at its finest.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the biological consequences are that the membrane permeability will be limited to certain compounds, while others will be able to cross easily. Proteins all want to have a particular three-dimensional structure, and medically, IV fluids, drug design, protein therapeutics, and kidney functions are all going to be influenced. Proteins and peptides, especially nowadays, peptides are super popular in Silicon Valley. It's the next amazing thing to do. Yes, 100 years ago, people were supplementing themselves with radium, so we should take
What?
everything with a yeah. They thought it was magic because it's radioactive and you're going to live forever if you drink radium enriched water and it's going to be amazing. Uh, you probably know the consequences. Yes. My phone would probably scream because I always carry it and I pair it with my scintillator Geiger counter, the radio code 102. But there's other versions of radio codes, much better performing ones. And basically, what it does, it detects radioisotopes from my surroundings. And why? Because I want to know. Because I've seen a few cases in the Ukraine how careless people were at building flats, building apartments. And I wanted to make sure such carelessness did not occur in Budapest. So, when we were trying to buy a home, that was one of our major goals. But it doesn't mean it can detect, let's say, polonium from a cup of tea. So, if the great Vladimir Vladimirovich offers you a cup of tea, you have the right to refuse. Because there was a case of polonium poisoning of one of the Russian deflectors. Obviously, I like to take a piss at politicians at every given moment. So yeah, but bottom line is it's an alpha emitter, and alpha radiation is much more difficult to detect because it doesn't penetrate as much and doesn't go as far. This is true with uranium glass as well. So rather interesting in this regard. And radium is really radioactive. If it bioaccumulates, it's bad, but mainly it's an alpha emitter, so it's not dangerous per se. If I would have, let's say, radium dials on my watch and it would be covered by a glass, no problem. I wouldn't have any issues with it. But if it gets into my body next to my cells, alpha radiation would deteriorate those cells. Now that's the issue with radium.
Mhm.
Now, obviously, we've talked about the molecular geometry of both compounds, and that's why CO2 is non-polar, and water has a bent structure, and it focuses a net dipole in one direction, hence it makes it polar. Carbon dioxide can be used as an organic solvent at very high pressures and relatively higher temperatures. When it turns supercritical, it's oftentimes used to extract oils. For example, the most premium rose oil is isolated via supercritical carbon dioxide extraction.
Mhm.
A gram of that will set you back around 34,000 to 60,000 Hungarian forints. So it's
Mhm.
not cheap, but it's amazing. As a fragrance or as an ingredient in food, it's amazing. You may have seen rose water being sold as well. Rose water is a different thing. Rose water contains just the water-soluble parts of roses, while the oil is distilled away with vapor extraction. That's a different story. But supercritical CO2, that's the pinnacle of engineering in this regard. Because what does it do? It just grabs everything organic and everything fragrant, and leaves the remains behind. So yes, it's like capturing the essence immediately. You have London dispersion forces as weak intermolecular forces, dipole-dipole interactions, ion-dipole interactions, hydrogen bonds, basically dipole-dipole interactions on steroids, and hydrophobic interactions. The hydrophobic effect occurs when water is present, and it's oftentimes water driven. Now, London dispersion forces are the weakest interactions, and as you can see, we've added little stars just to show their strength. And oddly enough, a hydrophobic effect, if you're in water and there's a lot of you organic compounds present, well, it can be one of the strongest in interactions, oddly enough. And usually people say, well, I thought hydrogen bonding was strong. Yes, if it's a non-aqueous solution, yes, but in an aqueous solution, you put something organic and it doesn't like organic, well, it will try and pull away the
Aren't
moment.
hydrogen bonds only strong when there's multiple of them?
Their strength increases
Mm.
with numbers. Absolutely spot on. In the case of DNA, that is especially true. Very good remark. Very good remark. I had a kid who I was teaching a few years ago, Barnabash, and he asked me, "Well, isn't diffusion overpowered?" And I thought about it. It's a passive process, but its cumulative effect is rather powerful. Yeah, yeah, actually, yeah. That was a very good observation. Yes, yes. I mean, one hydrogen bond doesn't go a long way, but you have a lot of them in water, for example. Well, it can increase the boiling point to 100 degrees despite the relatively low molar mass. And of course, London dispersion forces only occur in homo atomic molecules or non-polar compounds. And again, the more of them you have, the stronger they are. This is why iodine is a solid at room temperature. Well, let's say lighter elements in its group can be gases, or bromine is a liquid. Because with size, London dispersion forces increase. Same thing applies to noble gases. Dipole-dipole interactions may occur between permanent dipoles in polar molecules. However, the differences in electronegativity are not big enough for them to become hydrogen bonds, so they're a tad bit weaker. Hydrogen chloride is capable of such things, or hydrogen sulfide. Hydrogen sulfide, H2S, is very similar to H2O because, let's face it, sulfur is below oxygen. However, sulfur isn't electronegative enough to form hydrogen bonds. Oxygen, fluorine, and nitrogen are electronegative enough to be able to form hydrogen bonds in their hydrogen derivatives. Everybody else, no. This includes carbon, looking at carbon suspiciously. There are certain questions in the entrance exam as well that, let's say, we have methane and water, and it shows a hydrogen bond between the hydrogen of methane with the non-bound electron pair of water. Is this even possible? No, it is not. And hydrogen bonding is rather close. It's around 1.5 the distance of a oxygen-hydrogen bond. So yes, and it adds up. It adds up. That was a very important and very astute remark. Now, between ions and water, you'd be surprised to learn that there are things as colligative properties. What are they?
Colligative properties.
Yes, ma'am.
Uh,
We haven't really covered them yet. That's why I'm asking if you may have heard about them.
yes, I have. It's I don't recall. I don't quite recall.
Remember, think of the following. I'm always trying to explain things through an example. Do you cook pasta sometimes, or do you enjoy cooking
Yes.
pasta? Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, who doesn't? Silly question. And you add salt to the water, right?
Mm-hmm.
You pretty much have to. I told my dad that in World War One they tried to murder my great granddad because the Italians knew that he was going to be born and he's going to boil pasta without adding salt to the water, and then he's going to add oil to it and just ruin the whole thing so it doesn't stick. No, 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 no. You have to get pasta married as soon as it's done. You get it married to the sauce, and once they get married, it's going to be amazing. And the sauce and the pasta shouldn't split, they should cover one another well. You add salt to the water, not just to add flavor, but also to increase the boiling temperature of water. When it's
Mhm.
a salty, a sea salt, the boiling temperature becomes 120 degrees due to colligative properties, due to ion dipole interactions between sodium and water and chlorine and water. Yes, it's rather
Mhm.
amazing, and it does flavor the sauce as well. So you may not have to use salt as excessively. Sometimes you add a little pasta water to your sauce to thicken it.
Yes.
And when pasta and the sauce they get married, it's a match made in heaven,
Wait,
and
is it too,
everything.
it's too thick, isn't it? Adding the pasta water?
Oh yes, because pasta water does contain starch, and then
Oh,
it
I
might
always
not
thought
have.
I was adding it because it gave the flavor, like better flavor
It
due
does
to the
give
salt.
flavor as well. Yes, through salt, it does give flavor and it does give starch as well.
Oh, okay.
You may
Uh-huh.
not need much, just a little, but it thickens it up and it turns out lovely. See, pure and applied chemistry, intermolecular forces at play. And as the starch gelatinizes together with, of course, tomatoes and anything you added to it, anything you added to it, it will form a lovely complex emulsion. And flavor-wise, it's out of this world. And of course, you're able to cook your pasta all'andante. You don't have to look at the packaging. You have to sample it. Yeah, and if it's good, you can add it to the sauce and sometimes just finish it off in the sauce so it
Mm.
absorbs it. You're going to be making next level dishes. I mean, you're already doing well. I mean, you have a recipe, but come on. That's not something anyone can just flaunt and most importantly, medically valid.
Yeah.
And by the way, write it into your CV and tell it to
Yeah,
me. So,
definitely.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Everything is important and everything is of value. Yeah.
Hmm.
Excellent. So now we know how they stack up. How do they work? Well, London dispersion forces has to do with surface area. The greater the surface area, the stronger the force. There's a cumulative backing, basically. And it can be induced by dipoles. It can be due to polarizability. It can be just a huge surface contact area. It's mostly present in archons as well. Despite the fact that they have no dipole moment at all, but it can be induced, and the longer the chain, the stronger the forces are going to be. Hence, the higher the melting point and the boiling point. So, wink, wink at organic chemistry right now. But it also keeps the lipid bilayer together, more obviously. And aromatic compounds, they may stack over one another. When you stack coins on one another,
Hmm.
let's say you've been playing marketplace when you were little and you would stack these plastic coins or you used actual coins. I don't know. We used real coins that were no longer valid, but yeah, my son, he uses plastic ones. They look like beer tokens, so I love them and he really enjoys it. And yeah, you can stack them, and that is how these little hexagonal shapes stack on one another as well because of their abundance of delocalized dielectrons. Back in the day, pound coins and British currency had various shapes, and it was a
Or
bit
doing
strange.
various shapes.
Hexagonal shapes
Oh,
usually,
okay.
round shapes, and they would also have a, 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 a a few cuts on the sides. Each coin has those little ridges because some folks used to clip the coins. Usually they're associated with Jews, but everybody did it who wanted to make a bit of extra gold. But when you stick out from the general population, well, you'll be more visible than anyone else. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're the one. But that's why coins have registered this day. It's due to tradition because nowadays nobody clips coins, but back in the day it was quite a thing. I mean, it took a lot of patience and work. And these coins, these old British coins, when you put them together, they would form the family seal of the royal family. So yes.
Huh.
I've seen those coins as a little boy. I had a very good English teacher, Charles, and Charles did show me these old coins, but they were no longer in circulation in the 90s. So,
Mm.
yes, it is rather interesting how they stack. Iron dipole hydration, again, fairly easy. It took me so much to get the language model to understand what I wanted to
Mhm.
do. It just doesn't get it, but you do, and in which direction will they point and why they point in that direction. And obviously, a donor hydrogen acceptor geometry is also going to be present. Is it possible to have a hydrogen bond? No, a lone pair is going to accept it from the other one. So you are aware that such things are not going to occur with the hydrogen.
Mhm.
They're going to occur with what? With the non-bound, with the non-bound electron pair.
Mhm.
Yes, so that's what I'm trying to show here. And here it's showcased even harder. So it's kind of a donor acceptor type situation. Someone donates the hydrogen and the other one has the electron pair. And of course, in amines, we're gonna have one lone pair. Oxygen lone pairs, there's two of them, and two of them are gonna be the bonding electrons. In hydrogen, it's gonna be five in nitrogen, and two of them are gonna be the lone pairs. Here it shows correctly that this is why amines are able to act like bases that contributes to the Lewis base character. Obviously, hydrogen bonding is going to form a network with H3O plus, with H2O, and all kinds of interactions are going to occur. It's going to be an equilibrium system, but bottom line is cohesion is going to contribute to surface tension. It's going to increase heat capacity. Water has one of the highest heat capacities of natural compounds. Why is this so important? Because you heat water, it maintains that heat. Hence, you're able to heat homes from a distance for a longer period of time. Well, nowadays we don't need to heat our homes. We need to cool them down, but there are technologies to do that as well. And it will form a hydrogen bonding network. And that network is what creates the shape of snowflakes. Have you seen two snowflakes that were alike?
No.
Not really, because randomly water crystals form around the impurities.
Mhm.
That's how snowflakes form. So obviously, if it's a different kind of impurity, it's going to be a different kind of snowflake. It's all about crystallization and crystalline structure, but pretty much it will try and form tetrahedral units. Yes? These kind of tetrahedral units are going to contribute to the shape of ice, and this is why ice expands. If I freeze something in a freezer, obviously, if I would freeze a bottle of water, it would probably expand. Obviously, if the bottle is made of high quality plastic and it won't leave microplastics in my water and it won't even split if I freeze it in the refrigerator, especially in salt carbonated mineral waters. It just doesn't split. It doesn't even bend out of shape. You just have to open it carefully because CO2 is gonna escape. But otherwise, yeah. But with let's say a can of Pepsi, oftentimes it's gonna look like a crime scene. So don't experiment with Pepsi cans.
Mhm.
But it depends on the kind of because the carbonic acid is also an electrolyte, and oftentimes you might just get ice crystals, and it's basically going to be like a slushy. And that's the best kind of monster you can have that is frozen as a slushy. It's
Yeah.
level experience, especially with rehab lemon. Good God. I made it by accident a few times and it's amazing. Water as a solvent, it can disrupt certain kinds of bonds. For example, ionic bonding, or in glucose. Glucose, it sticks to the OH groups. Oil in water is going to be more compacted. Oddly enough, some of my students left their oil in their pans and they would reuse it over and over again. I think it's a really easy holy path to killing yourself early. Uh, I mean, seriously, a bottle of sunflower oil is not expensive. We would just gather the oil, and companies would take it away and turn it into diesel because you can do that. You can reuse it. But if you use reuse the same sunflower oil at high temperatures, it will mostly turn into trans fat. And that trans fat, if you leave it alone for enough time, it can polymerize into a pan. How do I know? Did I conduct an experiment? No. Some of my dorm students were really lazy and they left it there for the summer and they would just take out a slab of polymerized sunflower oil. Absolutely disgusting. I don't even know what to do with such things. But it's possible. It's possible because yeah. So oil and water, they don't really stick. And if you have an oil that has caught fire, don't add water to it. Don't add water to it because its temperature is way above the boiling point of water, and you'll just make a fireball and burn yourself. Remove the heat source, cover it, and pull it away. Then, when everything cools down, we can get the grease remover and sort everything out. One of the sociology students made a fireball. It was a difficult day. She didn't get hurt. She got a little crisp and she lost her eyebrows, but I hope we
Oh
all learned
no.
from it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And a couple of boys would just forget about their potatoes being fried and went into their rooms to watch a show, and then fire broke out. We had those. Thank God we didn't have gas stoves in the dorm where we lived because would have had gas stoves, we would have had huge issues. And oddly enough, what I really didn't understand in Hungary that such actions did not have any consequences. In my hometown, we would get sanctioned, and you do three of those, and you're kicked out of the dorm because you don't know how to live amongst other people. And don't get me wrong, we would party too. We would also get drunk, but we would clean up after ourselves. Or if my friend wasn't able to, we would clean up on his behalf, and then he would buy us beers as a
Yeah.
token of appreciation. But it wasn't like the cleaning lady comes in the morning and finds a disaster area. I mean, she did have to take the trash out. She did have to clean in major areas, obviously, but not after us, because she's not our mother. And even if she was our mother, she shouldn't clean after us. Come on. So yeah, this is a problem oftentimes. So yeah,
After
I
my birthday party, we were cleaning until like 5:30 in the morning.
no, that's understandable. There's nothing wrong with that. You are responsible young adults. I appreciate that. Uh, my generation wasn't like that all the time. Just saying. So yeah, I was. I just between you and me. Once I got really really drunk and. Um, Yeah, I broke an ashtray with my head, and I also
Oh.
broke a door with my head. And they took me home. The next morning, I felt really sick. I went back to the pub. I told the owner, "Sir, I did this damage. This is how much money I have saved up. Will it cover the damages?" He said, "We're fine. We're fine because you were responsible and you came back." And I said, "I want to pay for damages." He downright refused. I mean, we did consume quite a bit, but yeah, I never got that drunk ever again. I learned from it. But but yeah, I think also the downside was that I probably shouldn't have been served alcohol. because of my age. But it's Eastern Europe, so yes,
Yeah.
that's why I tell people to drink responsibly because it's going to be a story afterward, and you don't want to be part of the story. Yeah, but because of all the OH groups, glucose dissolves, triacylglycerols, they do not. They do not because there's no way in hell that there's going to be any interactions between water and fat. The
Hmm.
hydrophobic effect is a powerful effect. It's going to keep things rolled up. Yeah?
Yeah.
Amphipathic molecules have a hydrophilic and hydrophobic tail. We cover this in bio and micelles, and they form a very important little role because when I want to remove makeup, I'm going to use micelle water, not soap. Why?
Hmm.
Because I don't want my face to look like a piece of old leather. I want it to be moisturized and look decent. Yes. However, the same mechanism keeps the phospholipid bilayer. A lipid droplet can be easily placed in there. So if it's just a fat, it can be easily washed from fabric using soap. However, if it's not, then it's not just fat, it's other things as well. For example, iron. Iron can cause yellow to brown stains. And it's
Hmm.
really difficult to remove from fabric, for example, iron oxide and other derivatives. However, you take a little citric acid, you boil hot water, you add citric acid to it, and you wash the fabric stained with iron with that, and it removes iron stains immediately.
Okay.
So, yes, because it's a complexing agent, forms a complex with iron, and just downright removes it. Self-ionization is also possible through autoprotolysis, hence water acts like an acid and a base as well. And of course, this is what you should be able to explain. There's a tad bit of a summary as well. And of course, what is going to be soluble in what? Good examples here.
Hmm.
Can it interact with water? It will dissolve in water. Can it not? Then it will be soluble in a lipid or in an organic solvent.
Yes.
In a nutshell, this is what it means. Organic compounds can form hydrogen bonds, and because of that, certain organic compounds can be acids and bases again, depending on the kind of hydrogen bonding they're capable of. Intermolecular forces influence boiling point. They can increase or lower melting points and boiling points. And of course, basic character is also going to be greatly influenced by shape and by, of course, the capacity to form hydrogen bonds. If you hate me, expose me to trimethylamine. I hate it with a passion. It smells bad. You're going to smell like rotten fish. I had to use it to purify organic compounds. And I remember I was walking home and I took the tram. And when I stepped up, immediately I had a place to sit down. I was like, people are going to be polite. When I arrived home, my wife was like, you stink. What did you work with? I did. I did smell. Uh, but ultimately, I brought a bottle of this really cheap, um, uh, uh, basically lemon juice. You know, those 1.5 liter bottles. They're
Yes.
not bad,
Mhm.
don't get me wrong, but that was good enough to wash away the amine because an amine is a base. This is a weak acid, so acid and base are going to make salt, and it did wash away and I smelled okay afterwards. Just
Mhm.
saying, if you're exposed to such an environment, this is the best way to get rid of it. And oftentimes, you may have seen a Wiener Schnitzel is oftentimes served with a slice of lemon in order to enhance the flavor to get rid of the amine things. And fish. Fish is salted, and you have a few droplets of lemon added to increase the meat flavor and to decrease the fishiness. Oftentimes in Asian cooking, that's an option too. Surfactant means surface active agent. It interferes with the surface tension of water. Have you ever made friends with a duck?
With a dog? With a duck?
Yeah, you can feed them, they will get used to you, and they're gonna say hello. Well,
I
in
don't
their
think
own
so.
little wobbly way. Well, if you wash them with soap because you're a little child, they
Well,
will
the
think,
ducks.
yeah, they're gonna sink down and they will not talk to you for 2 weeks. Then if you have good quality bread, they might come back to you.
Huh.
But it's a thing. They have a special gland that basically makes them waterproof. However, if you wash that waterproofing substance away, they will sink and get really scared.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they will avoid you for a while. But once they regain their buoyancy, you're okay again. But as a child, you don't know. You just want what's best. You're being washed. You want to wash the duck as well. And yeah, I had that as a kid because surface active agents they made the little fats water soluble. So instead of being buoyant, yeah, their feathers immediately got wet. And that was the first time in their entire life.
Hmm.
So, yeah, be careful when
Okay.
making friends with ducks. Um, Oxygen, carbon dioxide, ethanol can passively cross the lipid bilayer. Certain proteins like aquaporins are going to help water cross it through a channel. Glucose and bigger compounds and ions are selectively going to be imported. And solubility is also going to be determined by Gibbs free enthalpy. Salt shouldn't be water soluble, just following thermodynamics. But once you look at entropy, it perfectly is. And if you add salt to ice, it can reduce the temperature of ice to minus 22 degrees. So you
Mm-hmm.
use that for your evil plans to cool down drinks, make ice
Mm-hmm.
cream. You do what you want with this information. And also, if you add water to a cup and immerse it in this bath of ice water and salt, it can freeze the water in the cup. And yeah, previously we've talked about this, and I didn't have to ask because you knew that that's salt water, so it won't freeze like regular water. You'd be surprised to learn that my uni students did not realize that. So, yeah, hats off to you. Boiling points can be ranked depending on the types of interaction these compounds are capable of. And you remarked it quite correctly. The more hydrogen bonds you're capable of, the higher your boiling point is going to be. That is a very important tendency.
Mm-hmm.
Structure, interaction, property, consequence, they're all going to go hand in hand. Hexane does not mix with water, but it does mix well with organic solvents. Hexane is oftentimes used as a stain remover because of it, because it will get rid of organic stains. In dry cleaning, there are several compounds, several organic solvents being used in the form of vapor in order to get rid of stains. And it's worth a bit of experimenting if you're into that. But with that being said, me, I use old shirts for cooking because I know there's going to be issues when I'm cooking,
Mm-hmm.
especially pasta dishes, but also fried things. Yesterday, I made langosh because the little guy wanted langosh, and
Oh,
he
okay.
just loves it. He just loves it. I mean, he wanted to knead something, you know. And yeah, it took us like 4 hours, but it was worth it because he was so happy. He
Mm-hmm.
was telling his grandparents all about it today, and was delighted. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
these programs are always a boon. If these things are dispersed, then obviously, if they're isolated non-polar particles, they won't have as much interactions between them. But if they form an aggregate, then the hydrophobic effect is going to cause clustering, and this is what happens when young people don't wash the dishes, especially a Teflon pan. It will cluster onto it, and going to be far more difficult to remove. And also modern surface active agents, namely detergents, they're going to get rid of everything. So we should wash everything immediately. Or
Mhm.
if we want to use diffusion to our advantage, we can add paper towels. It will soak up the fat from a pan, and then you're able to throw that out, and it's going to be less of an effort. But yeah, keeping dishes in the sink, no, there's no valid reason for that. Salt bridges may also occur in protein, basically through the NH3 NCO minus group, and that is an ionic interaction as well. We've talked about this when we've addressed proteins, and yes, in the case of DNA, your early remark is still valid. More hydrogen bonds, stronger the structure. This plays an important role in molecular recognition because shape is going to be a consequence of all of these. And the right interaction in the right place is going to form a catalytic site. It makes sense, right?
Mhm.
Drug targeting works in a remarkable way because of this. You can target an enzyme, you can target a protein, you can target a receptor or disable it. And of course, protein denaturation changes everything. You fry an egg, you can't remake it. Or can you? Actually, yes, but not frying, but boiling it. There was an Australian research group that basically reversed boiling an egg. And they said this was going to be important research in burn wound victims. It never caught traction. Unfortunately, they haven't received funding. I never heard anything new about it. But protein function depends on weakly stabilized 3D structures. So yes, hydroxy groups. The more you have of them, the more hydrogen bonding sites you've got, obviously, and the lipid bilayer self-assembles because of all these interactions together. So it's a
Mhm.
far more complex thing that we assumed. Hydrogen bonding donation and exception is also possible. Acetone, methanol, ammonia, they're all water soluble because these molecules are able to form hydrogen bonds. And acetone is rather organic, isn't it? Has a unique smell. Have you ever smelled acetone?
Yes.
It's wonderful, isn't it? Well, back in the day, my mom and her friend they were doing their nails, and this lady had a darker complexion. She had a microphone hair. She looked like a black person. Her dad is Romanian, her mom is Hungarian, and both of them had fair skin. And they're related. I mean, she's not an extramarital affair or anything, and everyone loved her appearance. It was really exotic. And she had super curly hair, and unfortunately, they were all smokers. She died of cancer too. My mum died too. Both of them lung cancer. Awful. But the thing was, she basically removed nail polish from her nails, and then went out and lit a match to light a cigarette, and she became a human torch. My mum's first reaction was she took the flowers out of a vase and poured the content on her head, and that put out the fire. But then they had to cut her hair a little shorter, but
No.
they learned their lesson. So yes, when working with volatile organic compounds that are a fire hazard, be careful. By the way, both of them chemical engineers. I was scared. I was really, really scared at the time. I was like 8 years old, and it was odd. Weak interactions play a very important role as well through hydrogen bonding and of course, clumping up of organic compounds. And there's a few concept maps and basically recap parts, but the rest is just for self-study. There's a
Mhm.
bit of a final log, multiple choice questions, a few graphs and whatnot. But I think that's usually left for the person actually studying the topic itself. Oh, I opened the wrong one, so sorry. Yes. Um, and yeah, we're gonna go over to biomolecular recognition.
Okay.
Basically, it's a consequence. It's a consequence of our previous topic, and I will try to summarize it in a nutshell because we've covered a good chunk of this in bio as well. I just want to make sure we have a good understanding because electrostatic interactions, hydrogen bonding, pi-pi stacking is a hydrophobic interaction. But what do I mean by pi-pi stacking? Unfortunately, it's not a delicious apple pie. It's the delocalized pi electron system stacking and stacking and stacking as if they were hexagonal pound coins. Yes. Now, water competes with binding sites, so desolvation matters. Desolvation meaning if you have less water, they're not going to be turgid. So a lot of things can indeed influence interactions if they turn into something active. Structure, interaction, recognition, and function, they all go hand in hand. This has a very important role in drug design. This is something high schools don't really teach to kids because they assume they'll learn it in university.
Mhm.
Can I tell you a secret? They assume you know. We shouldn't assume. So even after kids are admitted, I give them a test, and if they don't do too well, then I ask them to come to makeup class where they learn and understand how things work in a living organism. And I'm not going to fill their heads with learn this by heart, learn this by heart, learn this by heart, actual facts. I mean, I assume they already know, and they do.
Mhm.
I'm trying to get them to understand the relationships so later on they're able to understand physiology. You're doing a good job at that, my dear. Sorry, I needed a drink because I keep talking.
It's okay.
So, black shape positions group at the right distance, at the right shape, and it's going to be an induced fit with the actual ligand. So, this is a catalytic side, let's say inside an enzyme. Non-polar patches bind the water release and dispersion. Opposite charges stack up and they create a better 3D structure. Hydrogen bonds also require the proper donor and acceptor geometry. So everything has to be right. This is why temperature, pH, hydration, electrolyte levels influence how a biomolecule system works. Conformation complementarity is essential. What does that mean?
Hmm.
It is a three-dimensional handedness. I
Uh-huh.
mean, you can't shake a hand if it's not a right hand. Yes?
Yeah.
And you have to bring your hand to shape. The other person has to bring their hand to shape. And that is how an interaction is going to occur. Certain organizations have a special handshake. Boy Scouts, the Freemasons, uh, probably the same thing. I don't know. It's just weird for me that people make these organizations and dress up and have their little abracadabras, but it's really funny in this regard. But yes, they conform in a way to form their own little tribe virtually. And when they shake each other's hands, that's a great way to recognize each other, the urban legends say. But the bottom line is, um, when you shake someone's hand, you have to make sure you carry a good impression. With the Chinese, this has to be really soft. With Eastern Europeans and Central Europeans, firm but not too hard. And same thing applies in the US, and you look the other person in the eye. It's been tradition because it's a level of trust, apparently. And the same thing applies here. Matched hydrogen bonds, salt bridges, dispersion, and hydrophobic barbell is going to form a handshake. Unfavorable, there's entropy loss, there's desolvation, there's strain. it will not occur. Let's say if I blew up a few of my fingers, it would be really difficult to shake my hand, right?
Probably, yeah.
I had a professor like that. He only had two fingers on his right hand and he had a glass eye. But basically, an extremely talented person, by the way. Always the chemist who blew himself up is one of the most talented people in existence. He has his own firm, he sells cosmetics, and he's doing rather well in comparison to his colleagues. And he was just a teaching assistant even when he was teaching us, and he had like 60 papers published in various places, so smart fellow. And he was teaching us the chemical structure analysis and shape in chemistry, which was a really difficult subject. I got a 6 out of 10, and it was the best grade that has occurred in the past 20 years. Everyone else just wanted a passing grade of 5. Insane. And he corrected it on the spot. He was a great fellow. And of course, he told us to always be careful about what we experiment with and the quantities and why shape matters. And obviously, he didn't have any PowerPoints. He just lectured us and we took notes. And the effectiveness of that is, let's face it, rather reduced. You need to have material that your students are able to revise for better understanding. And if there's an unsatisfied polar group, it's going to be costly, so it won't occur. And binding is favorable when the total Gibbs enthalpy is negative. So basically, the three-dimensional structure and the energetics works hand in hand. Uh, Otherwise, no. Electrostatic interactions, hydrogen bonding, van der Waals, dispersion, and the hydrophobic effect, they all contribute, they all go hand in hand in what the shape is going to be. And obviously, there are consequences, pH, of temperature, of a variety of external parameters. Polar groups are hydrated, ions are stabilized. Binding must replace water contacts with a better protein ligand contact because this is full of water. Biomolecules are always in water.
Water.
So, yeah, when you create a three-dimensional model of them, they are in water. If you crystallize them, they are in water. So everything that isn't an organic compound is going to be water. And if you froze them, you can't know what they're like in real life because of the water. So oftentimes theoretical chemistry is being employed and they create a model of the compound using different levels of theory in order to model the compound. And hydrophobic binding can release all the water in bulk. It just presses the water out. Now, non-polar amino acid side chains may come from a plethora. The polar uncharged ones, they are acidic and they are basic amino acids, and they all give their 2 cents. They all contribute. You probably know this euphemism from American English. Can I have your 2 cents? Can you contribute to the topic? Yeah, that's what it means.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, back in the day, in the 1920s, the worker communities were so close-knit in the United States that, let's say, if you were a Hungarian in trouble and you had a number of colleagues, they were your friends as well. You had to travel home because someone died, and it was difficult because you could only go by boat. They would just chip in, and you could go home and return. And there was no debt because they did it for everyone. Yeah,
Mhm.
great communities. This is what made America great. And I know it's used as a campaign slogan nowadays, it's inflated, but this is the genius of America,
Mhm.
if you consider it. We can have the same good communities as well, but we had our fair share of dictatorships, and people who betrayed the community became more well off, and it just poisoned trust. And we should regain that. I have huge trust in your generation because your generation is just nice. They're good people. Yeah. Sometimes naive, sometimes ill-informed. Yes, I admit that. but there's a certain level of goodness, wanting to do good that I do admire. Now, non-polar side chains are going to keep away from water, as their name says, and oftentimes packed cores may have many dispersion contacts, and the backbone is going to be polar, and they're going to need hydrogen bonds, and that needs to be kept up. Now, uh, polar residues on the surfaces, polar groups need partners from water and precise interactions on the inside. And this is how three-dimensional structure of a protein forms. And it's spontaneous, doesn't require external energy, it just happens. Salt bridges, it's better to call them ionic interactions, but sometimes you may have a metal in the middle, or sometimes it's just going to be two ionic groups. And solvent exposed salt bridges are screened by water ions. Water ions are also going to interact with them, and pH and ionic strength can cause protonation and or deprotonation. This is
Mhm.
why a number of enzymes are so susceptible to higher or lower pH because, as I said, amino acids can get protonated and deprotonated at the same time. Hence, enzymes have a pH optimum. Oh my God, he's using the B word with grandparents. He learned it from an old lady who was scolding the trash man, and he loves the trash man, by the way. Uh, yeah. We censor ourselves. I became much more well-mannered since he was born. I try not to use any bad words at all. And look at that. He still found a way. So residues are going to contribute to shape. Some may be acidic, some may be hydrophobic, some might just be uncharged but still polar, so they keep water around. And some of them may be basic and acidic, and form an ionic bond between themselves. Hydrophobic residues, they drive protein cores, and if there's a lot of them, they can become globular in water, hence hemoglobin. Makes perfect sense. It's because of the hydrophobic barrier. And polar groups need partners. They need to interact with somebody. A buried, unsatisfied donor or receptor is going to be energetically costly because it does not allow an energy minimum. And that is what we want, right?
Mhm.
Obviously, you're already well versed in this. How an alpha helix, how a beta sheet works. You've explained it last week. I don't know, but I remember it left a mark on me that yeah, she
Yeah.
knows, she knows. Also, salt bridges, also ionic interactions, also the role of water, obviously. And protein folding occurs through hydrophobic collapse, backbone hydrogen bonds, side chain packing, salt bridges, and entropy. Entropy. It wants to relax as much as possible so it will organize itself so it's the least frustrated. And that's great. I wish people would be able to do the same thing because you may have seen people who are always on edge, they always have a chip on their shoulder. After a while, there's just no motive for it. You just got to take a chill pill. Yeah. Ligand binding has to do with the shape of the pockets that exist. You probably have seen these little pockets on jeans. Do you know
Yeah.
their original role?
No.
They were for pocket watches. Back in the
Oh,
day,
okay.
yeah, before World War One, people would have a watch on a chain, even working class people, and it was a valuable thing. And obviously, you didn't want it to get scratched, so you would put it in that little pocket. For me, it's a place where I keep my key.
Mhm.
My key looks like a Swiss Army knife because when I was coming home, if they would make a sound, the little guy would wake up.
Uh-huh.
And this won't make a sound, so you can just use it as a tool. but sometimes airport security frowns upon it because it looks like a knife. It's not. You can't cause harm with keys. If you can, then just take the keys from everyone. But yeah, it also has a beer opener that is heart-shaped, and it can also dislodge shopping baskets. So yes, quite useful. It's just really silly.
Practical.
It's extremely practical. Yeah, it's also able to remove screws because its sides are a multi-tool. Hmm. I might hook you guys up with one of these if you like them. But it's quite a dude thing, so I'm not sure if it's ladylike. My wife hates it. The little guy loves it, and also my father-in-law is okay with it. He didn't say anything negative about it. You know how Seikais are. If everything's okay, they're not going to say anything.
Yeah.
If something's wrong, they will ask for salt. That's it. Oh, cation and ion interactions, water-mediated contacts, hydrogen bonding, hydrophobic pockets, and pi-pi aromatic stackings are going to confirm this, and steric clashes may occur. Ligand group clashes may occur with methionine side chains, or there might be buried unsatisfied polar groups, which is going to destabilize um, protein or an enzyme. Induced fit is like a handshake. You shape your hand in a particular way, so you're able to shake someone else's hand in a nice way, of course. And obviously, in Europe, there's a hierarchy for this. If you're an old woman in Europe, you're at the top of politeness hierarchy. You can do as you please because you're the star of the show. If you're a young man, you better behave. No offering your hand. You have to greet people first. But obviously, you learn that. And why is this? To make everyone feel pleasant.
Hmm.
That's for it. It's not to seem better than others or anything of the sort. It's just to allow everybody to feel pleasant, to feel appreciated.
Hmm.
So that's the reason why. Oftentimes, a lot of people may deem it nowadays unnecessary. Um, it's not there to make people feel bad or formal. It's there to know, for everyone to know that the other person doesn't mean harm and they're well behaved and you can rely on their behavior, that everything's going to be just fine.
Hmm.
That's I think a good thing, and it should be practiced more. In Budapest, they find it quite strange that you greet them, you don't go on first name basis, and you're being generally polite. You you thank a shopkeeper for their service, and you say politely goodbye. Many are like, what'll it be? Or not even I would like. What they say is less said. I'm like, that's odd.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that.
Have you had no grandmother or mother? What's going on? Some people think it's cool. It's not.
Yeah, it's not. I agree.
And why do enzymes work the way they do? Because of their structure. And how do they do their business? They reduce activation energy
Yes.
by starting a new pathway. Yep.
Hmm.
Competitive inhibition may occur. Yep. What's
Hmm.
competitive inhibition? I look like the substrate, but I get stuck. No more substrates for you. Um, Oftentimes that can be a huge issue. Yes, more substrate might be required, or oftentimes it can be final. Yeah? So inhibitors may just disable reactions completely. And in drug design, affinity and selectivity have to go hand in hand. A target needs to have a tight fit in the binding pocket and favorable interactions. For example, have you ever had
Yes.
tonic water? It's bitter, but it's sweetened, so it's much more tolerable. Tonic
Hmm.
water is fluorescent.
What do you
Uh,
mean it's fluorescent? When is it fluorescent?
if you shine a black light on it, black light is also called a UV light. Black light is American slang. Let's avoid that. It will light up. It will show a purplish hue
Okay.
because it has a bitter compound in it called quinine. And quinine is fluorescent. Fluorescence basically occurs because the electrons in quinine are put into an excited state by the high energy of the UV light, and you'll be able to perceive it as a change in color. That's fluorescence. When the outside effect stops, fluorescence stops. Phosphorescence, on the other hand, is similar. You get excited electrons. However, the excited state remains active for longer periods of time. So light is going to be emitted even after the initial excitement is done.
Mm-hmm.
But with that being said, quinine has extremely high protein binding, and basically Kinley and its derivatives, tonic water, was used by the British military in India in order to avoid malaria. Now, because of the severe bitterness of quinine, they added sugar to it. It still wasn't good enough, so officers drank it with gin. So gin tonic was born.
Oh, okay.
And, and it was a drink to protect officers against malaria. Quinine was a powerful drug against malaria for a long time, but as every pathogen, obviously the pathogen causing malaria also has mutated in the meantime. Malaria is no longer such a thing affecting more affluent countries. So the research that goes into it is more active in countries where it's still a thing. You know that sickle cell anemia does not allow the parasite to enter red blood cells. So the sickle cell trait, I'm not saying sickle cell anemia, but just having the trait in your red blood cells makes you immune to malaria. Hence,
Huh?
West African countries have more cases of sickle cell anemia. Yeah. Now, Uh, polar contacts can oftentimes fail, and some can get hydrated before binding some molecules, but desolvation is energy costly. And when you replace water with protein contacts, charged groups may have also large costs. So energetically, it may be not so favored.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes a bigger amount of effort. If there's a mashed hydrogen bond, well, fine. If it's a buried or an unsatisfied donor, we might have issues. So this is why many proteins are so susceptible to temperature, to pH, and also to electrolyte. Because electrolyte can also denature things. The Chinese, they oftentimes salt egg yolks, and the egg yolks coagulate and they use it as an ingredient.
Uh-huh.
Chinese are fantastic. Hydrophobic binding is driven by the release of ordered water and favorable dispersion contacts, and you have to balance hydrophobic and polar features in drug-like properties. So shape in chemistry plays an important role. Oftentimes, they will create a number of molecular libraries that may fit a catalytic site, but only one of them fits perfectly and is selective enough. And again, you also have to assess side effects. So oftentimes there are these the plethora of databases that assess pharmacological activity spectrum. Uh, nowadays we have artificial intelligence models built into this. There's there's an app called Chematica. Chematica is able to design advanced organic syntheses through previous training, through scientific papers.
Okay.
Yes, and it can reduce the steps and it can increase yields. No human would be capable of it on his own because there's just a lot of literature to go through.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm not sure if Chematica is available for students. I think the pharmaceutical industry has used it, but recently I haven't heard much of it. I remember when it was brand new, it has made two very high impact papers for scientific journals called Angewandte Chemie. My German sucks. I apologize from the wonderful people of Germany for it. It means advances in chemistry, I think. I'm not sure, but it's a very sought after journal and it did create high impact articles. This was back in 2014, so it was a long time ago. But ultimately, certain pharma companies started using it. Universities probably never had the funds to look into it, it is just kind of didn't gain as much traction, despite the fact that it was super useful. Now, pi stacking is a very important thing because it stabilizes the structure. Oftentimes, pi stacking may occur with benzene or benzene-like derivatives, hence the cancer-causing effect in proteins and also in DNA. And cation pi interactions occur when a cation from lysine or any other amino acid or a metal ion is positioned near a electron-rich aromatic pi system. And this will change geometry dramatically because a lot of these small random interactions are going to sum up, just like you said with hydrogen bonds.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, my friend and colleague, Professor Leo Jür, he usually says the devil lies in the tiny details, and he's so right about it. I thought he was trying to be sarcastic. I thought he was just trying to be mean, but no, he's right. You have to do every minor detail well because it can change the overall outcome. DNA-based pairing, fairly simple. The more hydrogen bonds we have, the stronger the interaction. But base stacking contributes greatly on helix stability as well. So hydrophobic interactions play a very important part as well. And certain drugs and certain compounds are able to intercalate into these parts, especially in mutated cancer cells. And kinine and kinidine peptide conjugates and triazole conjugates may have great anti-cancer effect because of bistacking as well. Oftentimes, to determine the mechanism of certain compounds requires years of study, decades of study. Now, dispersion and hydrophobic shielding are going to strengthen DNA even further, and stacking reduces exposure of hydrophobic bases towards water, hence compacting it even more, and the phosphate backbone remains hydrated, negatively charged at the same time. I think we did add nuance to the structure of DNA with this, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is seldom talked about. Mainly in high school, we focus on hydrogen bonding, and that's that. That would be just a very small amount of the total picture. Base pair edges are exposed in the major and in the minor grooves of bDNA. You know there are various kinds of DNA, the way it twists and folds on itself. Each base pair presents a unique pattern, of course, and proteins read these chemical patterns using amino acid side chains. We could probably store real data in DNA and access it in real time. I think there will be an age where we're going to store extreme amounts of data in a very small device that will be easily accessible through chemical bonding. Certain amino acids often participate in sequence-specific recognition because they have the functional groups to do so, and shape and complementarity, electrostatic potential, further further influence, binding influence, uniqueness, and specificity. Obviously, outside negatively charged, non-polar interactions, hydrogen bonding, then proteins basically roll it up, and that's how the whole thing becomes recognizable. More shapes, more chemistry. Obviously, we are aware why certain bases behave the way they do, why ribose and deoxyribose are so important. That's a ribose ribosylate has both OHs. In deoxyribose, it's missing. Magnesium stabilizes and changes orientation. Magnesium is also essential, so is calcium. Um, have you ever had muscle spasms or muscle twitches when you went running?
Yes.
Always have a tiny satchel of magnesium or
Hmm.
magnesium and potassium. You can just put them on your tongue, have a bit of water. In around 15 minutes, you're going to feel well. I always keep them on my person at all time because it can have marvelous effects. Now, calcium. Calcium does not have any effect on allergic reactions. Where does the misconception come from?
I don't know.
Back in the day, calcium supplements used to contain antihistamine in small amounts.
Okay.
And because of it, antihistamine was doing its business. It wasn't calcium. But calcium stuck with most people, and they were like, you know what? Yeah, we need calcium. It doesn't do anything against an allergic reaction. Bottom line. Carbohydrates can also be recognizable. Is it alpha? Is it beta? In which direction does that carbohydrate rotate? Which carbohydrate is it? Well, precise stereochemistry matters. Yes, and sugars are covered with hydroxyl groups, and in which direction do those hydroxyl groups bend? In which direction are they present? That is how they're going to be recognized by our bodies. Glycoproteins and cellular recognition have a hand-in-hand role. I mean, this is how your body can tell that it's your own cell. Certain cancer cells lose all of these. They're basically bald. Because they're bald, well, we can't really recognize them. A lot of white blood cells look like little rows of Raffaello. Do you like Raffaello, by the
Yes,
way?
I do. I do.
Everybody does, by the way. I think I just met one person who doesn't like coconuts, but she also likes Raffaello. I don't know if a female human being exists who hates Raffaellos, to be honest. Maybe some people don't like the almonds and are gonna. Is it an almond on the inside? Yeah,
Yes.
I think it is. Yeah, yeah. When I know that my wife is not feeling that well, usually I have a box hidden somewhere, and she feels happier. So yes, and I teach my boys to have one ready because, and it's an act of kindness. Let's face it. I wasn't sure if you're allowed to have things because you told me about your condition and
Yes, El Rafael is one of the only sweets I can eat without
yeah,
taking
yeah.
them
My friend was asking. That's why I put up the topic. That's so great. Noted, noted. Wow.
down.
I learn something new every day. Cell surfaces display these in order to make themselves recognizable. They can adhere immune interactions, but also recognition of the extracellular matrix plays a very important role because cells can migrate, cells can anchor themselves through these structures, and hydration remains very important because sugars are polar and sugars are going to draw water slightly as well. They're going to take water with themselves, hence the whole rehydration thing. But sugars get consumed as monosaccharides, so in a rehydration drink, obviously ions should probably dominate. There was a girl working for Nov, and she was a chemist, and she made a better sports drink than anything else in existence. It's more known by athletes, and usually you find it in these Chinese mom and pop shops. But it's really good. I forgot the brand, but it's 750 mils and full of good stuff.
Mhm.
I still like the blue one. Yeah, that's just my fat ass talking, so don't listen. Cholesterol, tools, fluidity. Do we need cholesterol? Yes. Without cholesterol, we're pretty much screwed. Do we have to eat cholesterol in order to remain healthy?
No.
Not in such great amounts, and we can make our own. But again, from person to person, yeah. But bottom line, not necessarily. So no. But obviously, we need animal protein sources regardless, and vitamin B12. Vegans can do a number on their health and mental health as well over time for losing out on essential amino acids and vitamins and essential fats. Essential fats. But as you said, uh, we can make our own cholesterol. Our liver is capable of making it, and it will make our own cholesterol, even excessive amounts of it if we develop a metabolic syndrome. I can eat zero cholesterol and still have high cholesterol if my liver decides that is what I need. So I need to get rid of the metabolic syndrome by following a proper diet and exercising. I keep preaching it, and I have a hard time doing it because a lack of sleep can oftentimes interfere with your metabolism likewise. So when you're going to be our student, make sure you do prioritize sleep because sleep is a superpower.
Yeah.
We oftentimes brag about our lack of sleep. No, that's sad. That's sad. It's like bragging how many cigarettes I smoked or how much I had to drink. No, that's not a good thing. That's hurting yourself. Stop it. But oftentimes you have no choice because you're pushing yourself too hard. Membrane permeability is influenced by these interactions. Small non-polar substances go. Ions and larger polar molecules choose specific channels. Water permeability, aquaporins. Oddly enough, in Kolozsvár, in the Institute of Chemistry, they made synthetic aquaporins. And it's a great way to purify water. Yes, it's amazing. I was very proud. Some of them were my previous colleagues. I love them dearly. They're fun people to be around. However, because of the sheer cost, it's only employed in certain conditions. But imagine the following: you don't have to distill water; you can just filter it, and you got yourself to absolutely pure water.
Hmm.
Obviously, you have to add electrolytes and whatnot, but it's kind of a step in the proper direction, right?
Hmm.
Oh, ion channels can be selected by size, by hydrate layer. Sodium does not fit, or potassium fits only because of size and because of the hydrate layer around it. An alternative axis is going to contribute to membrane permeability and membrane potential, resting membrane potential. This plays a very important role in neurons, but it plays a very important role in molecular recognition as well. Receptors and signal transducers are also going to change membrane polarity and import and export of certain compounds. And now we're moving towards biology in a way. So, yes, antibodies and antigens, they stick to one another as well. You probably remember during vaccination, they were looking for antigen levels.
Yes.
Yeah, but there's two kinds of immunity, my sweet summer child, and please don't try to be a better expert at it than medical doctors. There were so many people like this. And I remember back in the day, an average salary in Hungary was below 200,000 forints a month net salary. And pensioners paid 55,000 forints in order to get their lab work done, including antibody antigen levels to see if the vaccine was effective or not.
Uh-huh.
Nobody said that it measures that, but medical laboratories made a lot of money because the cost was around 5,000 forints to do the whole thing. So basically, a net income of 50,000. Okay, you have to pay the staff, you have to pay for rent, you have to pay for reagents, fine, but still, per person, you could make a lot of money. Why? Because of the media and because of bad science. So, yeah. Denaturation is a very important thing. Heat, pH, organic solvents, urea, and also salt can cause denaturation of proteins. Sometimes that is what we want. If I want to preserve a huge hunk of ham, I'm going to make sure it's been bled out properly. I'm going to immerse it in salt water and then treat it with salt on its surface. There's several methods, but if you have a salt content of 0.9% per meat content, it's going to be perfect. And the outside is going to be filled with good bacteria that doesn't cause spoilage. And that is how these Spanish and Italian meats are being cured. By the way, you can do the same thing with duck breast in your own refrigerator at home. You can make duck breast prosciutto if you want to. And it's amazing, and it's something uh, all uh, religions can have. By the way, I think nowadays everyone is allowed to have everything, in my opinion. I usually tell my Muslim students that in a 500-kilometer radius of me, everything's halal. Just don't hurt yourself and don't hurt anyone. And they usually smile about it. I mean, it's an act of kindness and love. So yeah, they get it. They get it. Mutations may change binding sites and they may change enzymes. They may keep them active all the time. Pathogens may exploit host recognition surfaces. Pathogens tend to mutate. COVID mutated itself out of existence, thank God. Yeah, it actually happened. There's a lot of literature about it, and many policymakers did not handle the situation well, and people didn't handle it well either. Have you had online school during COVID, or was there distancing, mask wearing? What was it like?
One more time, sorry.
What was your COVID experience?
Well, uh, we had online school, and the online school looked like the in the very beginning. I went to my grandparents, and I had my like online classes there because we only had like one lesson a day. And then I spent the rest of my day outside with my friends, like on like picnics and random walks in some fields. So it was pretty fun. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed it. It was like a long summer break, basically.
Oh my. I remember in the high school where I was a teacher, I would keep all my classes, and older people would complain, I don't know how to use the internet, so leave me alone. And they were
Yeah,
always very right.
exactly. We had the same thing. Then people like some of the teachers required us to switch on our cameras, and then some of my classmates they didn't want to switch on their cameras, so they acted like they started lagging in real time, like they were talking and their camera was switched on, and then suddenly they like stopped moving. And one time it happened that my classmate was trying to do this with her Slovak teacher, and she started talking, and then she like froze mid sentence, and she wasn't moving, but her mom passed in the background. She like walked by, and then everyone started laughing, and the teacher was really mad. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Well, from what
We
I
still make
see,
fun of her to this till this day for that.
well, obviously, that was such a huge blame. My God. I remember some of my colleagues wanted in university, some of my colleagues wanted everyone to switch their cameras on and whatnot. I usually made recordings. I mean, they didn't even mandate us to go online. I went online because I didn't want to lose any classes, and I was using Skype. My wife had a very bad experience. She almost died, and then we were expecting twins at the time, and they didn't make it. So
Mm.
yeah, it's kind of a sad period. Did you know that fetuses can sacrifice themselves as stem cells
Yes.
to keep the mother alive? They did.
Damn, okay.
So, so yeah, it was kind of bad for her. For me, I just felt like dying only twice. So, but I'm glad she made it. She was really sick for 42 days. But I'm glad COVID avoided you. I mean, her colleagues at Nov, they were just insane. Uh, 80 people died out of 120.
Wow.
Yeah, because they refused to wear masks and follow any kind of precautions. I mean, you guys, you were separate from the rest of society. You were your own little tight-knit group, so it was impossible for you guys to get sick, and thank God for that. But I'm very sorry that your education was lacking. This is a reoccurring theme, and
Yeah.
yeah. In the rest of the slides, you're going to have a few work problems. This is for homework or whatnot, just to evaluate certain groups. But this is way above the entrance exam level. So yes, uh, if something mutates in the protein core, all of a sudden it becomes inactive. Just one amino acid can mean the world. DNA binding, salt can weaken binding, or an electrolyte can weaken binding. How? By interacting with the charges of the protein. Yes. What we did in school, we did isolate DNA as well. It was kind of fun. We didn't need much, and the kids really loved it. That's a tad bit disgusting, but if you like, I'll look up the recipe for it and I'll send it to you. You can probably do it with most of the things you have in your own home. Yeah.
Okay.
And again, these are just biochem questions. I think you can answer them easily. You have the explanations on the other side, and the rest is all about oral defense prompts. So again, you go step by step. In the entrance exam, you're not allowed to take notes, but in your exams at university, you're allowed to take notes first. So it should probably uh, help you immensely. But in the entrance exam, you get a question, usually first a simpler one, and you don't really have to gather your thoughts. You have to be able to answer them on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's not an issue for you because whenever I ask you a question, you know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Where does water compete with ligand binding?
Mm-hmm.
There's a catalytic site full of water, and a ligand wants to go in there. What does water have to do?
I don't know. Transport it somehow.
Exactly. Water has to leave. Okay, good. You already talked about why salt weakens things. Yeah, I think that's about it for today. Oh, yeah, there are a few common errors. Yeah. Hydrophobic effect is not a bond. Hydrogen bonding, you already established that in the beginning. The dissolution costs energy, but binding is favorable only if the energy is greater than the cost. It makes perfect sense. And ionic charged interactions are screened in water. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, base stacking contributes significantly, and these are pi-pi interactions for the delocalized pi electron systems of the benzene-like structures. And denaturation obviously disrupts non-covalent interactions likewise. That's the bottom line. And yeah, that's what I wanted to show you today. Hopefully, it was understandable.